What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about how to make a stand-up paddleboard, aka SUP, S-U-P, abbreviation. Anyways, we'll get to it. So you're going to start off with just like a nicely shaped board, but you're going to need a little more specific. You know, you got to draw your lines. You can use these stencils. You're going to place the stencil first. You know, draw a Sharpie along it. Make sure it's along the stringer. Make sure it's all centered. All that good stuff. Once you get your lines down, then you're gonna get a jig, just a saw. It's just a saw, and you're gonna be cutting up and down vertically. You're gonna want to make sure that it stays 90 degrees. This is just like symmetry stuff, but as long as it's 90 degrees, then you're solid. And yeah, next step. All right, guys. So once you get the outline on your board all figured out, and you got it cut to a 90 degree, just about 90 degree angle. You're gonna want to decide the width and the thickness of your board. So once you get that down, so like it's probably around 5-6 inches, something like that. So once you get that width down, you're gonna want to draw a line just to guide yourself. You're gonna draw a line across the board just to show that thickness. And you want to make sure it's equal. So you're gonna have to check incrementally. You're gonna have to check the thickness of that line and how much. Make sure you're cutting it off an equal amount. And then once you have that line set, you're gonna want to use a planer, and then you're gonna use the planer going like zoop, zoop, zoop. You can use the planer to just get down to that line and to get your rocker and your contour and your thickness of your board.
Okay, guys, the next step is we're gonna be doing this rail line. All right, so we have this perfect chart right here talking about the 60-40 rail that we're kind of going for, kind of a little less steep on the bottom and more steep on the top. We're trying to get that perfect curve. So what we're gonna do, we have to do a little math, which sucks, but we're gonna start on a sheet of paper. We're gonna find our X value, which is how thick our board is. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna divide that by 2, and we're gonna draw that line right here across the board, just trying to get that shape. And then we're also gonna put that line up here from right here. We're gonna draw that line all the way down. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut to those 2 lines right there in that diagonal kind of shape. And then we're gonna do the same on the bottom, but we're gonna divide by 4 for the line right here and the line on the bottom. And we're gonna cut that same diagonal curve. Okay, after you have all your rails and measurements done, you're gonna come over to your big roll of fiberglass. You're gonna pull it out, and you're gonna lay it all the way over on the board. And then, once you have it all the way on your board, you're gonna come along, make sure that you have enough, at least 2 inches of overhang, and you're gonna cut all the way along the board from top to bottom, and you're gonna make sure you cut the board off at the bottom. Make sure you have enough fiberglass.
Make sure there's no frizz and stuff. Yeah.
Once we have all of our fiberglass on top of our board, we're gonna come over, grab these epoxies. You have an A and you have a B. Make sure you do not put the caps on the wrong one, or else you will not be able to get them out. But once you get it out, you're gonna do a 2-to-1 ratio. You're gonna do 2 of A, 1 of B to make sure you have enough epoxy to fill the whole thing. But with a stand-up paddleboard, you are going to have more than a normal wake surfboard. Once you have your fiberglass all set up and you're ready to start your epoxy, you're going to make sure you level it out. Get all the air pockets, all bumps outside, get them off the board in order to get ready. Then at that point, you're gonna mix your epoxy, and then you're gonna pour it in thirds. So 1 would be here, 1 would be here, and 1 would be there. Once you do that, you grab one of these sponges or one of these scrapers, and you go lightly back and forth, making sure you spread it equally across parts of the board, and make sure you do not get too much in one spot, or else it will clump up and that's not what you want. But at that point, all the way through, nice and easy. 1.
All right, so once you get your first layer of fiberglass down, now is the time for the creative process. So you can either choose to paint the board or lay down a rice paper graphic. In this case, we chose to paint it, which is it's definitely time intensive, but it's worth it. You can definitely get creative with it. And yeah, it's time to paint it, make sure everything's looking good before the hot coat. All right, so now it's time for your fin boxes. You're gonna first get this sort of stencil. Make sure the center line right here is aligned with your stringer. Make sure it's not skewed any which way. Once you have that set, it's best to tape it with some painter's tape. Make sure it's set. Make sure it's not gonna move at all during the process. Once you have that set, you're gonna take a router. But before that, you're gonna want to have a drill some guide holes for the router. There's a router that only cuts on the side of the blade, it doesn't cut down at all. So you're gonna want to use a drill to get those guide holes. Once you get those guide holes, you go in with the router, get in all the chunks out, and make sure it's all smooth on the sides. And you get in all the chunks out. Once you have that done, it's time to lay down the fiberglass. When you lay down the fiberglass, you're gonna want to make sure it covers the bottom as well as all of the sides. You can't really see it right here, but all the sides and bottom of the hole. Once you have that, all right, so once you have your fiberglass cloth in there, you're gonna wanna start pouring your epoxy, make sure it's evenly spread. You're gonna wanna be pretty generous with this because you want the epoxy to overflow, making sure it's covering every side, making sure the fin box is going to be able to stay in the hole. And then once you have that down, you're going to want to insert the fin box. You're going to have to press down a pretty decent amount, and it's going to be okay. There's going to be some spillage, that's what you want of the epoxy. And then once you have that done, you're going to want to start sanding down the fin box once it's dried, and it's honestly easier to use sort of like a mini hacksaw or whatever it's called. If you want to just like sand it down, it's gonna take some effort, but yeah, it's gonna look good in the end. It's supposed to be nice and flush with the board. You can sand it down a little bit, but yeah, that's how the fin box is supposed to look.
What's up, guys? All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna hot coat the top of our board now. So we're gonna flip the board over and we're gonna work on the top section of it. So it's the exact same process as we did for the bottom, except we don't have to tape a fin. And we're still gonna tape those edges just like we did on the bottom. But basically, same process, pouring and sideways strokes back and forth to fully cover the entire board. And then once your resin is like a jelly substance, probably about 2-3 hours into curing, you're gonna pull that tape off so you get a nice clean line, but it's not too hard and you're not have to cut any resin. And your board should be good. And then you'll do a light polish, or not, like that's a preference thing, so.
All right, guys, hopefully you've learned a lot from that video. Hopefully you're gonna create some cool boards like these, some cool graphics. Hopefully you learned from our mistakes. However, we did not make any mistakes.
We have not.
These are perfect. Not really, but yeah, take it.
Yeah, I mean, good luck with your boards. Okay,
Yeah. And signing off.